Good morning, ladies and gents. We'll probably call this one Monday Motivation. Welcome to the Monday episode of A Different View. Or maybe we'll call it movie motivation. I mean, maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll movie motivation. So this is gonna be a little yesterday. Me and the missus, we went to go see the Marvels. Awesome, awesome, awesome movie, and we gonna hop right into it without spoiling it for anybody who hasn't seen it, who wants to see it. We're gonna do it off the basis of the final trailer, because again, and some folks have to pay a little close attention to certain things. If you watch the final trailer, if you watch the movie, then you kind of understand the final trailer. But here we go. So we ended off the last episode talking about Loki, right? And time and the manipulation of time, and the damage that has happened as a result. I want to preface this by saying this. I don't go to the movie, so a lot of people, it's just a good old time, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But art imitates life, folks. So in music, I just don't listen to the good old beat while the beat is nice. The beat is nice. It gets you in that good rhythm. It gets gets the feet moving, gets the hands clapping, gets the body, everybody different with it, right? Rock and roll will affect people different than hip hop will, different than country will, different than jazz or classical and all, opera, all that kind of thing, right? Again, art imitates life. There's energy to it. There's a flow to it. Some people don't pay attention to it because they've been drowned out. They've allowed themselves, I should say, to be drowned out by this greedy environment. But with all that said, I like paying attention to what's said in the movies. Like, for instance, when you watch Oppenheimer, 3-hour movie. So if you got a problem sitting down, some people physically have an issue with, sitting for long periods of time and all that kind of thing. If you don't, it's a good movie to watch. For most folks that lived it, no. 60, 70, 80, 90-year-old, 100-year-old people, they have lived this thing literally. Talk to them. Especially those that are younger, talk to them about it. And for those who are older, pass on what you have learned. These are some things that's going on in this movie, The Marvels, folks. Pass on what you have learned. Take off the blinders. So the stuff this one goes out to the older people. You get that story from your grandparents and they tell you not to tell nobody else. Re-look at the story that they told you and tell it to somebody. If you don't have kids, if you have kids, tell it to your children. When it comes up in them conversations and stuff like that, like, again, we got holiday time coming, family's going to be sitting down, start breaking down some of these barriers, which is another thing that I've been seeing lately, and shout out to it, is looking toward Christmas. It's almost as if in some of these stores you're seeing them skip over Thanksgiving, and I'm going to be honest with people and we'll get into this in the Thanksgiving Day episode. Oh, we're going to get into it. But it is good to see people coming away from certain mindsets. Change in society is always necessary, and in order to do so, you got to come away from certain older mindsets and mix them with new in order to create a better society. Which again is part of the stuff that happens in the Marvels. So, in looking at the trailer, some of the things that come across, you hear Monica Rambeau, little backstory. If you watched Captain Marvel, it's the little girl that's there with her mother. I believe her mother's name was Marie or Maria Rambeau. And everything that's happened to her, the TV show. Now, I understand a lot of people like just going movie to movie. They don't want to get too involved in all the other things that happen. But to get full view, so the truth, guys, is this is how Marvel's doing it. Some people have the same thing with the creator, so it would be no different with Marvel. People just have a problem with the design in which people do things. And everybody, for instance, this is not the Sunday message, but everybody is right in their own eyes, right? So, yeah. This is how Marvel's doing it. So if you want a full view of what's going on, especially after Avengers Endgame, you got to watch the TV shows on Disney Plus. I understand what folks are going to say, but see again, right? When you got the strike with the writers and the guilds, and everybody just sat back and was boo birding them, excuse me. Just you could hear the boos in the crowd, and no, this is wrong, and you shouldn't do this, and all that. That's where I get this term boo birds from. If y'all didn't know, at the end of the day, if you don't say anything, how did things change? If you never stand up in mass the way other people stand up in mass, nothing's going to change, folks, until we do that. But that's a separate topic. So, you see her talking about how this new villainess, and we like the villainess thing. Another thing with the Marvels, and people have a problem with Brie Larson because of how she portrays the character of Captain Marvel, which in the comics has gone by multiple names: Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, Warbird. Even there's been a few. Okay, so the other thing is for those, and this is why this is really cool for folks who are like 60 and 70, because you get to relive your childhood again, especially if you read Marvel comics. You're 40-year-old folks. I'm in my glory, man. I love it. Re-looking over things and studying things about the comics and things I may have missed, and just looking at the new way they're doing the comics today, like how you see Kamala Khan. And I'm sorry for who it bothers, especially people got this issue with Palestine. Let me be honest about it. Because see, these are all the things that are in this movie, which is why people detract it. You gotta get away, formulate your own thought, do your own study. Stop looking at who's doing the bombing and all that kind of thing, and go back in time and restudy before you start making certain judgments. Because you're not going to get a whole view that way. You're only going to get the partial view that everybody else is telling you. And why would you want everything in your mind to always be what somebody else told you? Study it out for yourself. Not only is it a biblical thing, it is a thing. Study something out for yourself instead of believing what someone told you. So you got Kamala Khan there. And just happy to be. We've all seen it. If you watch the TV show Ms. Marvel, you know that she's super happy to finally meet Carol Danvers. As the other element in it is the military, and apropos that it came out right around Veterans Day. Pretty cool. And again, do it one more time for the veterans out there. Shout out to those who have, who are, who will serve under the topic of defense, who pick up the banner for defense, even for those who want to make money. Because again, when money is necessary and it is sparse, people are going to go for certain things here, which may not have anything to do with government or protection of government per se, but more or less to make some money. Nothing really wrong with that to an extent. Depends on how long you'll stay in the service with that kind of thing. However, certain people, clearly, as we've seen in society, certain people have a high drive to do things for money, which includes genocide and a whole lot of other things. But regardless, so you got this villainess, really cool. Side note, everybody, she is engaged. This is something you can find out online, so it is what it is. She is engaged to Loki. Who knew? They have a kid together and all that kind of thing. Either one child or two children. So that's a cool thing. Another thing, folks get on the celebrity thing. Oh, why is everybody so... They're people, folks, and they started off in neighborhoods like us. See, the idea is opportunity here. You want to make opportunity more available for people. Then again, when you do that, there's going to be less money to spread around because you're going to have more people with more money. Then again, are we doing this for the money or are we doing it for the love of art? There's certain things here that humans have to come to grips with, which is another thing that you see in the movie, is Carol Danvers, and again, not gonna go too far into a whole lot of stuff. You can clearly see through the cuts in the trailer her struggle in her always stern in the face, and this was the thing that was getting everybody all ticked off about Brie Larson's portrayal of the character. And maybe people brought in other things about her own views on life. I think it's more or less the fact that she is female portraying such a character. But then again, guys, start paying attention to the Marvel comics from about 2006-ish on. They threw away a lot of those tropes that made Marvel so endeared to people. See, again, kind of like Thanksgiving, sentiment, the idea of sentiment, folks use it for some real horrible purposes, very, very horrible purposes. And they entrap people in doing so because, see, now you can never break away from something when you start to always remember or it takes more of a mental process. It takes a lot of inner strength to break away from something when you realize it involves time spent with your dying mother or father or grandfather, cousins, children. See, there's not just joy, there's also joys that are hard to separate from. But you got to realize in which the environment and said things were made. Sorry, I get a little bit emotional on it because it's a thing. See, again, like I told y'all, I was that person who thought of certain of these things so holy and so high up until the truth smacked me in the face as to how horrible things were manipulated to hurt people to take from them. When you support certain things on a certain level, you're less likely to fight back. It's a mental game, folks. It's a mental game. But regardless, so you got the Marvels going on. Excuse me. And Carol seeing the burden of what it's like. You know, we just finished watching her in Marvel's Endgame. She's fighting Thanos. You know, as Muhammad Ali used to say, bad mamma jamma. As a matter of fact, I do believe there was a song made called Bad Mamma Jamma. And she's just going around doing her thing. And nobody's stopping her and stuff, but there's a cost like that when you have power like that and you're by yourself. Which is why you see the tagline when you go into a movie theater lately for this movie. You got that faster. I might be saying it all wrong here, but faster, further, farther together. And that was another beauty in watching that movie is the seamless way, because we all know, right? You watch the end of, well, maybe some people haven't seen it, but you see you see them cut scene. I'll say it this way: you see him cut scene between Kamala Khan, Carol Danvers, and Monica Rambeau, right? The idea, folks, is in the power together, where you can rewrite your wrongs. Talk about time. You can literally rewrite your wrongs and operate in a better world together, where everybody has their own, but we're operating together. And I think eventually, until we get it, I'd like to say it this way: until we get it, we ain't got it yet. until people can really get into what's lying under the surface here to hurt folks, they ain't got it yet. They still believe that there's a certain, God up above going to save them from all this and all that kind of thing. Again, you have been given certain abilities. I know it'll sound like some weird sci-fi thing, but then again, that's why science fiction is good. It's wrong to not stimulate your imagination. It's also wrong to overstimulate it. There's a time for things. So you wind up seeing Carol Danvers fight in all this, aka Captain Marvel. And some things here where she's clearly fighting this new villainess. Who's ripping open holes in time and space. That's just what Monica says. She's literally ripping holes in time and space. And I see the symbolism with that. I don't know if anybody else does. People's sins have ripped open tears in humanity. And it's time to stop running, guys and gals. It's not helping. Your kids, see, another thing that comes out because you got Kamala Khan there, that's a young girl there. And kids get it. I always say it on this podcast. If you play this for your children and stuff, I will say it again. Thank God for the children. See, life is lived in a cycle here of life to death, death to life, so on and so forth. This is how the great creator has made this. With purpose. You cannot assume that the actions you're doing don't have ramifications. They do. And you see it clear as day in this movie. Even under good causes. Because, see, sometimes people will say, well, it was for a good cause. You really have to. It's the same thing with the atomic bomb being made. And I'm going to bring it up because it ain't went nowhere. 1940, 42, ain't that. The 40s ain't that long ago, folks. We all know somebody 60 to 80 years old. The 40s is not that long ago. This is what I mean about paying attention to your elders, and the elders doing better to be good to their kids in teaching them. And I'm sorry if it comes across crass, but this idea of not checks and balances, right? We've talked a lot about government over the last couple of episodes here. Checks and balances need better checks and balances, folks. Like this is kind of the idea of all the stuff you learn in school. This is to the kids here learning about government and stuff. Learn more about the checks and balances and see how well checked and balanced they are. They are not. They are sore. I don't care what they tell you. They are sorely imbalanced. And it's up to us to right these wrongs, folks. It's up to us, those who are older, to be in the background leading those that are younger for the charge. Y'all know we can't do the thing no more. Kind of like Obi-Wan in that Star Wars movie back in the 70s. The man too old. You can't do it. And be okay to admit it. It's all right. It's all right. It's the natural order of time. See, again, misplaced pride. Thinking more highly of yourself than you ought to think. There's a part where you can't do it anymore. See, the idea is to pass on. You've only been given a certain amount of time to pass on and work on passing it on. Part of the reason why I've done this podcast, and we'll continue until it's time to stop. Because it's necessary for people to learn the truth. Again, not for popularity, but for purpose. So at the end of the day, Carol Danvers has her own set of things she's got to work through. And then we get to you got the villainous here. And then and clearly you can see in some of the trailer where like water's being siphoned. It's like this woman is still, you got the certain part where like this whole city's being destroyed. It's like this woman's out for blood, y'all. Oh, man, it's so tough when people get certain things in their mind and it's not tempered well. It's so bad and it corrupts. So this is why I say, folks, when you see death and destruction and corruption, you know that the adversary of the brethren, of the people, is involved. You know there's evil afoot. When that thing looks unified and folks are happy and there's stuff going on. And again, that's not saying people don't go through problems. See, you're going to go through problems. But we're talking about that extra stuff. Where you start seeing things way out of balance, yeah, that's when you know evil's afoot. It ain't against nobody, okay? So life is lived on the planes of balance. So where there's good, you're going to have evil. But the thing is, one's supposed to be balancing the other. And right now, you just got evil. But see, when they tell you, oh, they're just hiding the good stories and this, that, and the other because they're just painting a narrative that everything's bad, folks, they are lying to you. The truth is, you see lots of evil because lots of evil's going on. Oh man, it's wild. It's wild, man. If the playing field was equal, then you would see more good than bad, but you don't. That's not because they don't show it to you. It's because it's not there. People are more turtle-shelled right now. And it will change. It always does with humanity. Again, all you got to do is look through history, and the playbook's already been written, people. It's just time for this level of the game to play itself out. So then, speaking about games, we get into Miss Kamala Khan, a.k.a. Miss Marvel. In the comic, she is an Inhuman who has certain traits that lie dormant that are then, this is a little comic book background stuff, that are released from a certain mist. I believe it's called Terrigen. For those who are comic book aficionados out there, feel free to message me on Facebook. Hit me up. Those of y'all who know me, and we can have a conversation, of course. So this Terrigen mist causes her to be able to stretch and get big. And all that kind of thing, kind of like Stretch Armstrong, for those who maybe listen to this or know that character. Plastic Man over in DC Comics, for those who know that character, just this idea of stretching real big and making your fists real big or your feet and all that kind of thing, right? Her parents are involved, so you see her family and stuff. Anybody who's watched Miss Marvel, they play the parent-kid trope very well, and it gets real close to my heart because, again, like any kid that grows up and you start to see certain things that on purpose are pushed down, you start realizing how full of mess it is. How much of it is now out of respect. See, because, again, we're talking about respect, right? Because their parents are to be respected. Here's a side note. The respect is necessary right up until the time. This is why the Bible talks about, again, this bears note, don't provoke your kids to wrath, right? Doing right by them. Because when you do that, you're throwing off the dynamic. And when you do this mess where you compare them to their brother, sister, cousin, uncle, niece, nephew, you're going to tick them off. And we're not doing it because we care. Let's be honest. Parents aren't doing the thing because we care. This goes to step parents too. This idea of because of greed, it also becomes part of the ownership thing that's imbalanced your family. Because now they stop being, grandma and they become my grandma. So what, they can't help no other grandkids in the neighborhood? See, again, people kind of overlook these things, because it's just a saying. No, at the end of the day, and that's not to make fun of folks who talk like that, by the way, because people, again, folks are preloaded with a lot of these defenses, folks. You got a lot. It's funny, talking about Marvel, you got a lot of Winter Soldiers out there. If you don't know who Winter Soldier is, he is, from back in the day, a lot of World War II people will get this. He is Bucky Barnes's, Bucky Barnes is Steve Rogers, a.k.a. Captain America's sidekick, gets captured by a German-based group called Hydra, because, again, comics back then were dealing with the tropes and the horrors of war. Looney Tunes is also based off of many of these little tropes, especially right in the beginning of the creation of the cartoon, because, again, people got to deal with the horrors of war here, mentally, which is why it's okay to get back to life after this stuff happens, folks, but forgetting why is a problem. AKA, you got to learn your history. You got to deep dive into your history of all types, whether it's human, biblical, don't matter. That is, unless you want a full view. If you don't want a full view of it, then you just keep believing what you've been told. Kamala's on the scene. You see the family. And it's that strong, overbearing thing. See, for some odd reason, folks thought by being overbearing is the name of the game. It's in teaching responsibility. It's not in overbearing, and people will get ticked off because they have an unbalanced level of pride, telling other folks, "Hey, no, you don't understand because you don't have kids," or "You don't understand because you don't know my child," or they come up with the million. See, again, like I said this before, and again, repetition is necessary for learning, so we're gonna say it again. You gotta stop making excuses for the reasons why something cannot be and start making the excuses for why it can. It's why you have multiple revolutions in history. And I'm not talking about the violent ones. Everybody keeps going back to the physical violence stuff. We're talking about things like the Renaissance, things like the Reformation. Even in the Prohibition, while canceling drinking and stuff like that probably wasn't the best idea. It is the idea of controlling something where you can stop doing something. Because again, nothing should be so in control of you, you can't stop doing it. It's a thing to enhance your life, not the other way around. You don't enhance it, it enhances you. So when you start to understand certain things about yourself here, and the consciousness and the knowledge of self, you start learning certain disciplines. Now, people want to sit there and, that kind of sounds like Asian and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's got some smacks of it, but it is in every culture. That's why in the Halloween episode, I said folks need to get back to a level of spiritual base. Start learning about your culture and where you really come from, because you do not come from these lands. The people that come from these lands either don't exist anymore or they're pushed off in reservations. There's a difference. When you look at life that way, it makes it much easier, folks, because now you can do the things necessary to repair. So you got Kamala Khan there. Really good how they all kind of meshed together. It was very, very nice to see. Really good to see that it was all female led. I think, everybody gets ticked off that we're seeing black Santa Clauses everywhere. You know what? If people were in check and they kept racism in check back in the day, you'd have realized that Santa is not just white. And I'm using terms here that people understand, aka Santa is not just of European descent. While the story does come from European descent, okay? The idea of, and I will get into this again, we'll reiterate come Christmas time. But just a little movie trailer, right? We're talking about movie trailers here. The idea is not that it's only one place in the planet. The idea to give to folks, okay, the idea of good and bad being rewarded for what you do right or wrong is not just secluded to one part of the planet. So then when you make your commercialized merchandise, it would not look like one type of people from one part of the planet. However, when you're being greedy and you're trying to force that thing, that's what you get. So, same kind of thing here. Men been ruling and reigning in this thing with women being a supporting character, literally. So on the back end, guess what you see now? You're going to see a lot more women-based things. Might as well strap in and enjoy. See what life would look like with women doing the thing, folks. You got some. You know what? We'll break a little bit of. We'll get a little colorful here. You got some badass women out there, folks. Running societies, doing things. Go back in your history books and learn about the life givers on this planet. It ain't even surprising really when you think about it, when someone so powerful has the ability to be given to push life literally into the planet. Don't you know they've got more value than what we've been putting on them? It's wild, man. And see, again, is what we're talking about. Cutting down your profit, holding back people. You literally can make more by having them mixed in and toward the and at the front of the game the same way the men would be mixed in. But see, everybody is defaulting back to what Adam did with God. Stop blaming women for the problems that men have created. That's just the truth, folks. Start looking at your world, put on different glasses, guys. Or just take them off and look with your actual eyes, and you're going to see a lot. So, good movie. Good movie all around. There is a little part in the cutscene that's very, very short. Which I'm not going to divulge what it's about because it would be a spoiler. But it again, we all know that Marvel movies ain't done yet, so I'll say it this way: it sets up for some real fun coming soon. Again, it's good to see the women. It's good to see the kids because again, it's good to see the kids, see youth. If so, like again, this is in Loki, and we're just watching. There's a term called Ouroboros. I don't know if y'all know it, but we're going to say it. It is a part of what they call mythology, which is really actually very real, where a snake is eating its tail. So the symbolism is that something starts at the head, then eats the tail, and it's in a circle. So it's constantly doing that, aka life feeding into death, death feeding into life, the head being made the tail, and the tail being made the head, and so on and so forth. Again, life is lived in balance, folks. So where you got the one hold down, do not think they stay down for long. That's just a real thing. So, real good movie. Good movie to bring in, got some language in it. But again, Marvel's trying to move away from certain things. So, if you want to bring your kids, again, because a young person is there, I'd probably say if you don't want them introduced to the, as I like to call it, the colorful language. Again, I do make a distinction between cursing and language that you wouldn't use around your 2-year-old. I truly do believe they're two different things. Now, anyway, it was back in the day when I used to think it was all curses. But I digress. Maybe you want to bring your 13, 14, 15, 16, your older kids. Bring them with you to see the movie. We got to get to the point. So there's a lot of violence in the world, guys. Life is short. Life is short. If humans, again, if he's talking from a belief standpoint, if humans are guaranteed like 70 to 80 years down here, life's short, folks. But we got to make the best of that thing. We got to make the best of this thing. It's cool to have fun, maybe waste a couple of years here and there and stuff like that. I understand all that, but again, you got to realize there's ramifications to what you do. So while everything is available down here to do, everything might not be good for certain people to do, while it might be good for others to do. And respect the balance in between all of that. So that's what we got. Again, I give the movie personally, probably, just from continuity and all that kind of thing. And I understand Marvel people, they got certain issues with how Marvel has done things. Some of that's greed-based. Some of it's, just being fair, some of it's greed-based. They cut the story. It's the same thing happens with DC Comics. They're okay with cutting out story content for, I don't even know what's going through their head, honestly. Which sucks from the standpoint of the viewer. So, good movie overall. Definitely go out to see it. Probably give it like a solid A. I would give it a solid A. I don't really. That's the other thing. Stop paying attention to these ratings. Please stop paying attention to these ratings. Go watch a movie for yourself. I understand money is tight for some people, but let's be honest, it's not tight for everybody. And most of the people putting up these ratings and stuff, it's not. Go watch the movie for yourself. Spend the $20, or find cheaper movie theaters in your area that you don't feel like you're gonna get shot down at, because clearly that's unfortunately a thing today with how people do not practice responsibility with their gun ownership. So, go see it, enjoy it, make an experience of it. We got dressed up for it, so it's fun. It's fun. Enjoy the comic era that we live in right now. And that's what I got. So, as always, folks, look to find the beauty in a different view.